record to the cloud. I forgot, is this an hour session or how does it, I forgot how long is this?
I think it will be at least 1 hour. Then I will see if we have to, if you have more question or if we have to go more in detail, we can spend more time.
Okay, so Barclay's coming. Okay, let's see.
Yes, I see someone.
Okay. Waiting is paying off. Maybe you wanna start. So of our developers, who do you know? Or do you know Milan, right? Milan Adamov from
I know him from the forum, but
okay.
I think I see him also in a summit, but I don't know him very good. He's also working for you, or?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And you know Barclay, right?
I think last time we see each other, but
yeah, I think we've seen each other at a summit, but but that's about it.
Maybe in the wait, was the last one?
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm at too.
One was
Washington.
Oh yeah, DC. Yeah.
But I see so many people. I cannot remember.
Right.
I don't have a good memory for face. I'm a little bit in a dark place.
It's okay. You have like a holy hello.
Yes,
that's a good
sadly,
description.
that's a fake one.
We're getting trained by the Jesus himself. Okay, so we have I don't know if Victor can attend or Milan can attend, but let's just start. We're recording, so if they join us a little later, that's okay.
Okay. Yes. So I will start to share my screen. I just charged my computer with Catalina, so it's the first time I use Zoom, so he asked me permission to share.
Oh yeah.
It's asked a lot.
Otherwise, the screen will be blank.
He asked me to quit, so I quickly quit and join back.
Okay.
Hey, Taran, do you have time later this morning to chat?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm back. Now it should work. Catalina is quite not perfect, so I think you can see my. Sorry if you hear noise behind. It's my little daughter.
No problem.
Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is how is built the component itself. Actually, I can say that the core of the component is based on 5 lines of code, not more. And I will show you why and what are those 5 lines of code. So I have made a small project with 3 methods, and 2 are for test, and the 2 other are what is really the core of the component. So I have the first method, which is new AG tools UT describe. So this is to create a new unit test object, and you see I just return a new object, and I create a formula in the assert attribute, which will call this AJTools UT assert method. And in this method, I have only 3 lines of code. You can see the code is not too small, or?
Oh no, it's good.
It's good.
Okay. And here you see the trick I use. I create 2 collections where I put this dot expected and this dot actual. So this is the current object we are in, and the attribute expected and actual. And the magic of the component, it comes from this equal member function from 4D. So it's a member function of a collection, and it compares 2 collections. And I use diacritical to be really a strong assertion, a strong test. And why this is magical? Because in a collection, I don't care what is the type of my value. So expected can be a string, a real, a long int, everything what is accepted in an object can be. So it can be also an object.
Wow.
And that is powerful, because before, to test 2 objects, we cannot make object equal object. So before, I use a trick to do stringify my object, but it's not good, because if you have 2 objects with the same attributes, but they are not in the same order, if you stringify it, it will not be the same. If you
That's
do my
right.
object stringify equal my object 2 stringify, even if they have the exact same attribute, but not in the same order, the assertion will fail. So it was quite complex to do unit tests for object, at least before this method.
That's a very good point. I did not know that stringify equality does not actually mean, okay, object equality.
Because object, the stringify will depend the order you assign the attribute,
properties.
the properties, yes. And I don't know how it do this, but he keep this order, and the stringify will reproduce this order. And this allow me to have only one method to test strings, numbers, everything. Because before, I should have done one assertion method for each type.
So equal, it only works for collection, not for objects.
Yes, but if I have 2 collections, and the first item in my collection is an object, it will work. It will compare those 2 collections, and I only have one element in my 2 collections, so it can test any values. Collection can have any value inside.
Oh wow.
So this is the core, but the problem, you cannot just base on that, because unit test, the purpose is to get a result. So here I have created a small sum method, which do a sum of $1 and $2. And here, what is the test look like if I would use only this core code? So we see I pass the given and should, which is not really mandatory here, but I pass the expect, the actual, and I pass the assertion. And then I have to build myself the result. So the result is this string where I concatenate everything, and the result is test.result, and I do an alert. So here is not really convenient, because the purpose is to do the test and the component to give you the final result by itself. So all the other code in my component is just to fetch every test, to run every assertion, to put everything in an object, to display it in the form, to create a JSON log file that I'll save in the log folder. So all around is just cosmetic, I would say, but the test bar is really this code.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it.
So I wanted to make a small database just to show that it's really simple, the test. We just test two values. So maybe now let's see how from this simple stuff, how we can test more complex tasks. I have created a small database. I will launch. It is in project mode, but there is no difference if you use project or a binary database. So here is the structure. Actually, the car, I don't use it, so I will just hide it. But I know you work with the rate system, so I have created a rate table with currency code and rate, and a simple company employee table with relation. So let's see I don't have much method. I have, let's see the first method. It's generate fake data. So I have a method which will generate fake company and fake names, employees, sorry. So I just have here 30 fake company in a collection and 20 random first and last names. So I just push that in a collection. And then I have some code that will generate 30 companies and 2,000 employees. So I have my code, he create a new company, he get a company name, and then he push all the ID in a collection, sorry. Then I create my employees, and here I have only 20 random first and last names. So I want to pick a random first name, a random last name, and a random company. And I save it. And you see here, I use a util random method, which will return a value between 0 and 19, and here 0 and 29. So let's check this method. It's a simple calculation where if I don't have any if I have two parameters I use, if I don't have, it will be between 0 and 1, and I just give the result using the random method of 4D. So I want to test this method because it's the smallest method I have for now in my database. So how we will do this? To test a random method, it's a special case, because when you test random value, you cannot expect a result. From a random value, you cannot expect you cannot expect a value, but you can expect a range of value. So for example, if I don't give any parameters, I expect my value to be between 0 and 1. I will have no idea which is the expected value. So here in this case, the expected, it's true. It's a Boolean. Then I will run my random method and store it in a variable, and the actual result will be a condition. So random value is between 0 and 1. So here I write many tests. If I give a mean 0 and a max of 1, it will return a value between 0 and 1. And here I do again the same. And the same for 1 and 5 for those two values. And for here it's two big value, but really close. So I wanted to test this case.
You're testing your random function to make sure.
Yes. So that's a way to test it, because random it's not easy to test really, because it can in my case it return a real number, so you can have even between 0 and 1. I don't know how many million results you can get, but it's almost impossible to test every case. I could maybe do a loop. I don't know, for 1 million run of random to be really sure it never happened. So we could also do that, but here I did it as simple to run it once. So I will run this test. So here, yes, all my tests are passing. It's everything true. So that is how I can test a random value. Now I have my fake data generator that I want to test. So let's see how I have done that. So I create a new test in a new method. And here what I will do, I will start a transaction. Because the time of the test, I don't want to broke or alter the table and the data I have. So what I do, I start the transaction. I delete all my records for company and employees. And of course, at the end, I cancel the transaction. And here, what I will do, I will launch my method, generate fake data. And here, I will have to test the data itself. So here, I will be sure that the fake data generated the companies. So I do my order query. You use order, or you are still using for the classic?
Moving.
Or you...
Yeah, we're trying.
Okay, so if you
right now.
Okay, if you see you are not confused of what I'm doing.
All good. That I think we're all gradually getting there.
Okay, great. So here I test the company length, the employee length, and here I do some other tests. I want to be sure that every employee is linked to a company. So I do a query where company.id is different from nothing. And I get the length. So I want to be sure it's 2000. I want to be sure that I do not have empty company names. So I expect 0, and I do a query on the name equal to empty, and I get the length. The same for first name and the same for last name.
Just a question I forgot. So the given and the should are kind of like which test you are running. Is that the name of the test?
Actually, yes, is the given is given given which context, you should get which result.
So it's textual information.
Yes, it's really a information for the one. You always have to think when you give those two, if the test fail, how I can know what is failing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's this information to feed back to the end user to know what happened. It's really not
exactly.
It's not grouping. It's not grouping your test into different type of categories of tests.
No. This is here the category.
Okay.
I have here the category which will group all the tests, and here is the general description of my test.
Okay. So you're
and these are different assertions inside one test.
Got it.
So because there is a let's say a guru in the JavaScript unit test that make a lot of article about unit test, and he said that a lot of library of unit testing fail in the way of giving a good feedback when a test failing. Because when a test pass, it's okay, it's pass, no problem. But when it fail and you don't have good information, then you struggle to know why this test is failing. You have to go read the code. So he said that you always have to be careful to give a good description for the time the test can fail.
Mm-hmm.
So here, if I launch again my main window, I will run just the selected test, so data. So here I see all my tests pass, so I don't even give any information. But you see, I generate a sentence given generate fake data should generate 30 companies. I've expected 30 and actual 30. So for example, if I don't know, I would expect 31 and I run the test. Here I see directly given generate. Actually, I could write a better sentence, but let's keep it that way. Given generate fake data should generate 30 companies. Actual that expected 30 and actual. No, expected 31, actual 30. So this way I know, okay, I should have 31 company and I have only 30. So let's put back. So here it's an example to show you how you can test maybe some method, because in 4D we always have a method that change the data or get something from the data. So we must have a way to test it. In the perfect world, when you write tests, you should test the best things to test is pure function, because pure function given the same input always give the same result. But in 4D it's quite hard to write pure function because we most of the time work on a form, so we have to access some object in the form or some data, and that is external state which make all our function, our method in 4D to be impure, because depending on the state of the form or the state of the data, the result of our function can be different. So it's always important to set the context. Like here, I set the context by cleaning all the table, but you could set up the context by setting some default data, especially for the test, and that's why it's important to do it inside the transaction. So let's create some other test. I will launch this method.
Sorry, did you cancel the transaction in the end?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So that is important.
Okay. That's beautiful.
No, it's a great
Never
way to
thought
do it.
about it, like doing it like that. So everything stands true while you're in the midst of the transaction. All the records are kind of thinking they're deleted, but they're not. And so,
Yes, because especially when you are developing, you always do things in the data. You remove records, you edit things, and you are never in a clean state. So it's really, you have to be careful when you don't write a test expecting the data to be in a certain state.
that's a very, very good point. That I learned something very important. This transaction. Beautiful.
But we will see after that there is exception. There is always exception to the rules.
Yeah, I like the fact. I mean, it's interesting to me. I mean, with the transaction, cool ideas, and I've used it, but I would never really have thought of deleting everything first. That's the thing that I think is really intriguing. Now, one question for you on that, given, and I haven't tested, can you just do use the SQL drop, or what is that called, instead of doing the delete? Is there any performance issues with large amounts of data and stuff, or does that even matter since it's in a transaction?
Actually, if I would validate the transaction, I would say it's not good to do that. But because I cancel, it should not be a problem.
Okay, so there's no real performance hit because nothing truly happens until you validate.
Yes, everything is done in the cache.
Yeah.
But I would say if you have a 1 million entry table, I will maybe do it a different way.
Okay.
It will really depend on the context you try to do tests.
I was under the impression that SQL purge or drop doesn't work with transactions.
That's what I don't remember, and that's what I was asking the question and about performance and all that.
Honestly, I'm not a fan of SQL. I almost never use SQL in 4D, and I really don't know, but I'm not sure they will be included in the transaction. There is something else. There is trunket table.
That's what I was referring to.
But trunket table, I want to see, because I always read the documentation.
Yeah.
It's clearly indicated that no transaction must be underway in the process executing trunket table. In this case, the command does nothing. So that's why I use all record delete selection.
Yeah, I will say if you're
is really a low-level method, which is not. But yes. Okay, sorry. Okay, so let's see some other example. Where is my file? Yes, here.
Nora and Wykin, do you guys have any questions?
No, that actually made a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Thank you for the explanation.
So we will write another example. I will write tests underscore get resulting rate. That is my convention to name the test method start with the underscore. And here I will make a first assertion. So here, normally in the perfect world of unit test, you always write the unit test first before the implementation. So here I will create the method, and the method I will just write the comment, actually this, and okay, so here I have my method, and I have some code already, and I have all the unit test. So I write all my tests. So I want here the unit tests, they are there to describe the behavior of my my method. So get resulting rate. If I don't give any parameter, I want to return 0. If I give €1 to USD at a rate of 1.18, it will return 1.18. So if I give 1 and 1.18, it return 1.18. If I give 5.53 at the rate of 1.18, it return this value. If I give this Tanzanian shilling at this rate, it will return me this value, etc., etc. And then you want all the tests to fail. So I will run all the tests. That is good. You see that because it's always happen. For the component to be able to execute the method, it must be shared by component. So almost every time I forgot, and when I run it, I have this error. So you have to be careful. So let's run it. And I see not all fail. 4 of them fail and 1 pass. Why? Because the basic one where no parameter is given should return 0. So because my code is not implemented, it's already returning 0. So this test passed, but all the other are failing. And now we want to make the test to pass. So we will write the code of our method. I didn't do something very complex. I just return the value times the rate. And now I will run just this test. All my tests are passing. So when you write new function, it can be good. It's recommended, I will say, to write first the unit test to describe the behavior of your function. In the real life, most of the time you do it the other way around because it's not always funny to write unit tests, and you like more to write your code and then to write some unit tests. But again, I show you what the theory would say is the best, even if in the practice it's not always what we are doing. So here we have what I refer to a pure function. So given the same input, always give the same result. So nothing much to do here. But we will create a second method which name get currency value. Yes. So here again, I don't write the implementation. I just write the basic stuff, the declaration of the parameters, and I return the basic value, which is 0. And I will create a new method get currency with underscore. And here I will write, sorry, how to find. You are still hearing me?
We still hear you. We
Ah,
have
okay.
two members that just joined.
Okay, I
a
hear
little bit
something I was
late.
not sure.
Yeah.
So here I want to make a test a little bit more complex. So let me copy this text. And we will see what I want to test. So here, first I declare an object which is AG tools UT error and expected error. Because I want my currency value to return, it can return some error if we don't give the good parameters. So here, what I do, I create my process variable and I set an on error call handler. So as you know, when you use error handler, you must use a process variable to be able to communicate between the error handler and the method where the error happened. So here I will create this method and you will see it's quite basic error handler. I just store all the error information is inside an object, and I have a stack, which is a collection where I get the last error stack, which I push all inside my error handler.
Okay, so you have a stack. Last error stack. Okay.
Actually, here I transform the array longint array text, which are the result of this 4D command, and I translate it to a collection of objects. And here I use concat because it can happen some case that you can have many errors happen in the same method. So I don't want only the last one, but I want the stack of all the error that could happen during my code execution.
I've never used get last error stack method, so this is another thing I'm learning. Okay.
I don't know if when you have an error in 4D, you have this dialog coming and you have a small arrow to expand the information, and sometimes you have different line of error. So those different line are the error stack. For example, if you have an issue when you save a record, it will tell you cannot save, and then you will have maybe another issue with say the primary key is duplicated or something like that, and you have 2-3 error in the stack. So with this, I will be able to say that, so I always have my test no parameter, it returns 0. But I want that if I give the wrong currency, it should return an error. So here, my expected error, I create it here in my unit test method. So the error code will be this number. The error method will be in this get currency method at line 32. The formula will be assert, no rate found for this currency. And the stack will be only here I have only one error, so it will be this. So this is the expected, and then I call my method with a currency that doesn't exist, and I test the UT error. So when I do my assertion, it will compare the expected and the actual. And then I continue. I want that if I give 10 US dollar in euro, it should return me 8 this euro. So here again, I give the expected. And then I call my get currency value. I give 10 and I want in euro. The same USD in USD. The same in British pound. Same for Canadian dollar, for Swiss franc, etc., etc. Of course, I remove the error handler at the end. So now I have to write my method. Here it is. Is this one? So here in this code, I make sure the assert is on line 32. So here is my code. I check if I have two parameters. If I don't have, it will only return 0. I query my rate table. If I find 0 rate, it's make an 4D generate an error which will return no rate found for this currency. And if I have more than one rate, I also give an error that I found more than one rate. Else, I will use my previously already tested and well-functioning method where I give the value and the rate. So let's try to launch that code. Again, it's a mistake. I have to make it shared by component. Project method not found. I shared the wrong method. It's not this one. It's the unit test method that have to be shared, not the tested method.
I'm glad you made that mistake.
I always do it,
Oh,
this
good.
mistake again
Well,
and again.
because we're learning.
Yes, you have it in record. So here you see that for the error test, it's okay. The expected and the actual is good, but some are failing and some are passing. Why? Because as you know, when you deal with rates, they change every time you do an update. So maybe when you are doing some development and you run the code during development, maybe during your development you have to update the rate to I don't know, test the updating method. So all your rates are in a wrong state for your unit test. So here there is two solutions. Or we say, okay, we do the same strategy that we did before. We start a transaction in the beginning, we cancel it at the end, and we create all the rate only for the test. This way, you will create your context only during this test method, and then you know that your get currency value will have always good values. The other way to do it is you say, okay, I know during development this method can fail, but I want to have a specific data that I want to use only for test. So here I have generated before data that I put in this folder, data unit test, that I want to use only when I perform unit tests. So let's see. I will now open local database. It's not this. So I will open my project and I will say I want to choose another data file. Here I will choose that data file. Okay, so I will run again. And now all my tests are passing. Because I know this data is specially set to run my unit test. Because unit tests can depend on data.
And as you showed us in previous example, we could also write a routine that fills the rate table with constant values in a transaction.
Yes, exactly.
And then cancel the transaction after.
Actually, I show you the two-way, and the second way will make sense. You will see in the next step. But yes, actually, if we take this one, here it was a simple example where I just clean the two tables. But in our other stuff here, I could have made something like start transaction, and here I could also delete all and then create record rate currency code equal euro, save record. Oops, sorry. And put the rate equal, I don't know I put what, but something like that. So you could also do this way, and this way you are always sure, no matter where you run your test, that they will be okay.
That's fantastic. Okay, very good, very good.
And of course, we don't forget to cancel the transaction at the end. But sometimes you can have quite a complex data set, and maybe you don't want to delete, I don't know, or actually it's not a must to delete everything. You can just create fake currency that you are sure doesn't exist in your database, fake one, and then you will test fake one, fake two, fake three, for example.
Mhm.
But here we also have a simple example, and maybe you want to test some routine that that will work on 2, 3, or 4 tables that have relation. So sometimes to create context can be bigger than the test itself. So that's why I will show you how we can automate tests and automate. We speak last time about build automation, how you can automate the build up. So here I will compile my code. Yes, no problem. I will launch the build application page, and I will set up my build settings. So I want to build a standalone application. I will have to choose the 4D volume desktop. Okay, I don't want any component. License is okay. As you see, I have the build automation component inside and the unit test, but I don't want them to be in the resulting application. They have every component have a size, and it can add size to the application when it's downloaded from a client. So I don't want them to be inside. I don't build, I just save the settings. So the settings now are saved in this file. Sorry. So there is one thing to know if you want to remove the component from the final application. You cannot have how to say that a reference to any method of this component, else you will have error during the launch of the application and it will quit automatically. So here what I have made, I have write a wrapper for this new unit test describe. So in this wrapper I check the component list and I look if I find this unit test component. If I find it, then I'm able to execute the method with the different possibilities of parameters. So this way, I don't have any reference to this new edgy tools UT describe, and even in your build application, you will not have any issue, because in a build application, you will have those methods, but they will not be launched. They will not run. So there will not be any execution error.
That's cool.
So that's the way to remove the unit test from the final application.
Mm.
So now I have my build app settings, and I want to be able to automate my my build app. So let's create a new file. No, it's not that I want to do. Sorry, new window. Okay. I use Visual Studio Code. Here I will save it here, and I will call build app.sh. So I use a Mac here, but you can do the same with in Windows with a batch file. So here I will copy the code and we will see together. So here I declare four variables. So the first one is the 4D path of the application, because when you want to build an application, you have to build using 4D. So you have to launch the application in 4D so it's able to build itself. So that will be the 4D you want to use to build the application. Then you have to give the project path. So here is my 4D project file. If you have a normal database, it will be the .4D base or .4db file. And here I give a data path. The data path is optional. But here you see I want to open with the data, a special data for the unit test. So I give this data to open, and I have a build-up XML. So the build-up XML, it's the one we just saved now in the settings. Here, why I have a different path separator, because those three, they are part of the 4D CLI argument. So it's I don't know if you know, but 4D have a command line interface where you have different arguments. So here you give the 4D app, then you give the project path, the data, and then you have different arguments. Here I use headless because I want to run it without any graphical interface. And you can pass some user params. And actually not user param, only one user param, which is a string. And for the component, you must pass a JSON string, and you have to say if you want to run unit test. So here I've set to true, and the build-up path. And the build-up path here must be in the current system path. So in 4D, in a Mac is 2 points, and in Windows it's backslash. Okay, so here what will do this bash file, it will run 4D with this project, and it will give this user param. There is still something to do. I don't know if I did it already. Is in the database settings. You must check execute on host database event method for the component. This way, it allows the build automation component to run the build without you to have to write any code. You just have the build automation. If you run it with the correct user param, it will run the build. You don't have to write any code. But if you want, because of security reason, you have many components and you don't want to allow to execute this on host database event, you can also write your own code in the on startup to be able to launch the build yourself. So there is a shared method build application that will return you true or false, and this way you will be able to know if it was run for a build or if it was run for a normal launch. So there is those two ways. Okay, now we want to launch the build. So of course we have to kit 4D because I use the same 4D for running the build. I will open my terminal, and I think I forgot something. Yes, I forgot something. I have to set the right I cannot. Okay, yes. If I want to be able to execute this file, I will have to write and this. I think I did it before, but for the test, I removed the file, so normally it should be good now. So now I want to run.
What are you typing? It's hard to see. I see some.
Sorry.
It's okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
I was setting the mod. I'm not a big expert, but I have this problem last time. They say you don't have permission to run this file. So now I will run it. Command not found. I'm in the good. Let's permission denied. Okay. That is the demo effect. Oops. I forgot this part to save. I don't know if it's enough. No, permission deny. What I did wrong. Sorry for that.
It could be because of Catalina, maybe?
No, I did it this morning, but for the demo, I delete the file to create it with you, and I forgot this part. I have to. I look on internet, but it should be at buildup.sh. Or maybe. Okay, now if I run it, maybe I have to put sudo. No. Command not found. No.
Yeah, you gotta say, oh no.
Sudo cd.
That is the always something have to go wrong. No. Permission denied, but I did put the chmod. Oh, is a big X or no? I think it's a small one. And then this file. What is wrong? The file failed with error. What I do wrong? I'm really sorry.
Okay.
This morning it was running good, and now
I'm not I forgot my Unix.
sadly, me too. So I'm in the good. Okay, I think now, yes, it's running. You see that I have a build which was created. And if I go check in my in the logs, because when you launch the 4D in headless, it will activate the diagnostic logs. And the diagnostic logs can be found in the log folder, and in this file, it's the name of the application with the 1 and 2, 3, 4. If the file exceeds 10 mega, it will create other file. So let's check on the logs. Here we see we have an error was raised. No rate found for AAA. So that was part of my test. And we see after I have information, building application, then I have a lot of info about some license, and I have build success. And then I have a one which say quit 4D. So that is my component at the end of the process, it quit 4D, because if you don't quit 4D in headless mode, you have to go and kill it in the task manager. So I have another file here, as you can see, is unit test results. And here you can see the JSON. I don't like this. So I have a count of 26 assertion tests, pass 26, fail 0. And here I have all the details in JSON for each category, each test, and every assertion. And you see here, because I use a special data, all my currency tests are correct because the data are in a good state for the test. And I have also a simple result, true or false, and the last test date, which was 3 minutes ago. So it's during the build that I have launched this. Something else. Okay, so thanks to that simple batch file and the component, you are able to launch the build anytime you need. But here, I don't know how you do today to build the application, because I think every client we have a different way to handle it. Some they do it manually when they need. Some they have certain tools to automate the process. Some they have made a 4D database which automate the process, which run the build and do stuff. So here the purpose of this application, this component, is to be integrated in some DevOps tools like Azure DevOps or Jenkins or GitLab, or some tools that are for continuous integration and continuous development. And in those tools, you can automate almost everything you want. But what was missing in 4D is a way to run a build with a simple line of command line. So that's the main purpose of this build automation, is to give you a way to launch the build with a command line. So in your DevOps tool, you can have a routine for every night or every week that will do a build up. Or you can also only run unit tests. If you want every night to run unit tests but build the app once every 2-3 days, you can do it. You can also do it so that you are sure the unit tests run every time. I'm not a big expert of those tools like Jenkins and Azure DevOps, but you can create what they call pipelines, so you can imagine every scenario where you can use this.
Interesting.
So I don't know in your case how do you create build, if you have some automated process or if it's a manual task?
Oh, we are not there yet, Gabriel. Unfortunately, at the moment, we are only deploying interpreted mode. We don't
Okay.
deploy compiled mode yet.
Mhm.
Reason being, we have hundreds of customers, and some of them, they suddenly want something changed. We connect to their servers, we do and modify something.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a bug that they found and nobody else has found, and we immediately go there in the source code, make some changes, and they can continue
Mhm.
working. We are planning to go to, so these are our big plans, and I want you to be also coaching us, guiding us, going towards that direction, because you have worked with ergonomics and you
Mhm.
have the experience of working in an environment where things need to be unit tested and built
Yes.
properly and all of that. So we need some of that. Going forward, we have to go to V18 and then project mode and go to Git and do
Mhm.
and then compile and then hopefully automate the whole process and build.
Yes.
So it's in the near future. That's why it's good for us to see what's possible.
Yes. Actually, for ergonomics, we have given them a build app component that was on the knowledge base of 4D as a tech tips, where we have a little bit adapted it for their needs.
Mhm.
But my experience showed that at the end of the day, the guy who was doing the build stuff and automate all the things have really specific needs in this scenario. For example, they have a development server where they have the database for development, and they wanted the build to be on another server. They don't want it to mix the development server and the build server. So they have to transfer the code base every time from one server to another. And the build component they have was not built for that. It just copied the source file in one folder in the same computer. So at the end of the day, they create a lot of script around the build app to move things there, to generate different build, one for test, one for integration, one for prod, one for integration one. They have a lot in ergonomics. It was quite complex. They have a lot of target,
Yeah.
and I see that. That's why I wanted this component to be really simple as just creating a build based on the build app XML. So everybody have their own settings for building. So the component will build based on those settings, and then it's up to you what you want to do with the build. If you have some process to create then 4 different builds for different environment, or if you want to move it in a location for the production, or there is so many scenario that everybody want to have his own, that I wanted this component to be agnostic and just do the minimal required stuff, just to build an application with one line of code.
I think the setup and the processes that ergonomics had were, to me at first, it was overwhelmingly complex, and I didn't understand why they need to make everything so complicated. But over time, when they wrote all those scripts and I could see things moving from their test server to dev server to deployment server and it's not so fast. And there was a reason they didn't want things to be fast, because of all the high-end testing requirement of SBB.
Yes.
And they needed to generate all those documents for testing, that everything is passed before they could just, have a new deployment ready. So it was very interesting to see their testing process, to see how they document and how all those unit testing, and as you see this continuous development processes. It is a goal, it is an ideal goal to go there.
Yes, true.
But
and
we're not.
as you see, also you must have someone that really know the process of continuous integration. Is hard even for me, that I'm not in those how to say this, really is a specialization of a task, is not in the I could not make it actually, if I have to do everything to automate all the task from one A to B to Z. I could not, because there is too much script to write and to handle tools like Jenkins or Azure DevOps. It's really a specialization that not everybody can do. So you must have the specialist for that.
But slowly, I mean, that could be really high-end, in the future. But before we get there, all of these are very important. First of all, we got to really properly learn this testing unit. I have a question. Why don't you have one line of code for passing the parameters of the expected and this and that in one line of code, and you have
you mean in the unit test, or
in the unit test? Yeah.
So let me open again the project.
And I'm sorry, while you're doing that, so when you were doing the build, you were executing the unit test, and I might have missed. So where did the results end up?
There was in the data, in the same place as the data, there is a log folder.
Okay, it's just really small on my screen. There. Okay.
Sorry. Yes.
No, that's all good. I just want to clarify.
Do like this.
Gotcha. So it's
in
just a JSON.
Yes, it's a JSON file in the default logs folder.
And then, does your tool display that pretty, or is there a?
Yes, my tool actually, when you launch the main form, I use that file to display it here.
I mean, can you just reload that results file though, or do you have to just run it at that point again?
Actually, you have to run it. Yes.
Okay.
It's not actually, even when you run it, it generates this file. If you look here, it's modify 1923. So every time you run the test, it's write the result.
Okay. I guess where I was going was, I mean, I love that idea actually, and then run a build, review that file. Is there anything we need to do? Otherwise, move on.
Yes, if you have some tools, they can run the build, check this file, and if you see some test fail, you can send an email to everybody saying, be careful, the build this night fail because of those unit tests, and then you can have really feedback every day to say, be careful tonight, somebody broke this test, and you have to look why.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. So your question was why I don't write all in one line. I'm not sure to understand.
Oh, it's not a big deal. I was just saying, like, it would be nice to have one line and just pass. It could be a helper method that you pass the given and the should and the expected and the actual and it all automatically does the assert for us. And just a 4D helper
you
method.
say like helper, then you pass blah 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 blah, then 0, something like that. Yes, actually you can write a helper method if
or even a class.
Actually, I have a version with class, but it's only available on R since R3. So here I show you the demo on V18, so I cannot use class. But actually, the thing, it's almost like a class here, because the difference is just the call. If I use class, I will do dot new. Oops. And I will just write this. But all the rest is actually the same, because a class, it returns you an object where you have parameter and member function. So the class version doesn't change much of the unit test. But then if you want to write something on top, you could, or I could the thing is, I personally, since we have object, I don't like to pass too much parameters. For me, 3 parameters, it's really the maximum. If I can, if I have to give 4 or 5 parameters, I always pass an object, because it's more convenient. You don't need to test if you have these parameters is there or not. You just test the attribute in your object if it's there or not. But
this is all great. Anyways,
yeah, I mean, at one level too, this is very readable.
Yes. Yes, because here also I have some simple description. If you have a little bit more long, if you have to give all in one line, you never like as a developer to scroll horizontally. You like only to scroll vertically. So that's also a way to have everything in more horizontal, vertical.
Yeah, but yeah, somebody can write a simple helper to do it.
Yes, sure.
It's not a big deal. This is beautiful. I love it, and thank you for.
Yes, I don't know if you have other question.
I can't wait to go back and watch the video again. I mean, it got a little bit complicated when you got to the stack part for me, myself.
Yeah,
so
me too. I want to try
go
it.
back and watch it. So maybe.
Actually, what I can show you a quick example. I will remove the on error call. This I don't care. I can leave it, and I will run again the test. So here is, if I don't have my error handler, it's not nice to have a test where you have error. If you have 100 or 1,000 of tests, if you have, I don't know, 20 error, you don't want to see that. And actually, you want to test. Sometimes an error is not really a wrong behavior. It can be expected. In this case, if I give a wrong currency, I want an error. So the error actually it's a correct behavior of my method. So I want to be able to test even the when error is raised. And here you see that I have an error on the method, line 32. And here is the stack of my method. So here I have only one because it's a custom error, but you could have different error in the stack.
Mm-hmm.
So here I just have made this this on error call method to get everything. But if you want only to have, I don't know, the error code and the error method, you can just write this. So it's just, this is just an example of an error handler that will put all the information you can get from an error inside an object that you can test.
Okay. So there's no way after we implement this way, there's no way that our unit test will fail. I mean, it will have failed cases, but the code itself will run from beginning to end, guaranteed.
Exactly, you will not
Right.
have a dialogue which say an error. So that's why for unit tests, it's good to have such error handler. And in case if it's
Makes a
here,
lot of sense. You're right.
I see that for this test, if I give wrong currency, it should return an error. So it's the intended behavior.
And so the expected error is that's what 4D is going to throw back in conjunction with your failure?
Yes.
Because that's where you're doing the 4D-RT and all that other stuff.
Yes, that is
right?
what is the value 4D will return here.
Okay.
This is the system variable from 4D.
Yeah.
For one, I think you know.
Yeah.
And the last error stack, you say you don't use it, but it just fills some arrays with the error stack. So here I just hard code in my test what I expect
4D to do at that point.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Then I run my method, which will raise an error. And because I have my error handler, which will fill this object, I can pass the actual. And for example, let's move, just add a return line. So my assertion will go to line 32 to 33. And if I run it again, I have it's not okay. So here it's not really nice to read when you have such a big expected, but we see that the line 32 and 33, but that's give me an idea. Maybe I could put the color where it's the same. I could put in yellow, and where it's changed in red or green and red. Maybe I could even improve that to make your eyes to see directly where is the error, not to find which one is different. So if I put back, normally it's okay. Okay, I hope it was quite clear. I know sometimes I'm a little bit fast and my English is not really the best.
You did a great job.
You were very good. Really great.
Okay, so I think we are good for today. Maybe, as we said, if you start to use it and to try to write some unit tests, maybe you will have also some issue or some stuff you would like to see with me. Then we can make another talk together.
Another session. Sounds
Yeah, thank
good.
you. Very good.
Wow, this was very good. I will get back to you on our next meeting.
Yes, okay.
And potentially Fridays are good. I think for everybody, Friday.
Yes, for me.
Yes, morning. So thank you, Gabriel, again.
No
And
problem. I will stop
we'll talk
sharing.
to you Maybe even next Friday. We'll see.
You let me know if you have already some question and you want to look already Friday. We can have a session.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Okay, perfect. So I wish you all a good day. I will go
Thank
to
you.
eat.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Guys, if you want to stay for a quick roundup for I'm having a call with Barclay, but what did you guys think of this session?
Excellent. I mean, I think obviously the immediate thing I see is any of our currency calculations should have some units test written. You know, anything that's dealing with financial, that would be awesome. I'm just thinking especially the get tiered rates and some of the, I think you've got another one, Turan. We should definitely start with some really no-brainer ones. And even wrapping it in with a build, even if we don't use a build, we should start running a build process to get the immediate feedback.
To get those sanction
Sanction list stuff, any of that.
oh yeah,
type of thing.
sanction list.
That's a great, I mean, any of those things,
Yeah.
you know, the only thing I can think of with that like get tiered rates issue is we have to think in terms of live rates. So I don't know, instead of maybe the test return something within a range that we know is going to be reasonable or something like that.
Or we can just assume, I mean, we can write the test in a way that we get the rate and then we do, knowing that the rate is X, the calculation should be X multiplied by Y.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever, but I do think, I mean, I think those are some things we can do immediately and start to learn, number one, but also, you know, obviously any of those calculations are imperative for the application, right? So let's make sure they're consistent. And as we enhance, you know, the tiered rate stuff in particular, we have a unit test already in place. So we know nothing's going to break for historical things.